had a couple of questions in for you, Martin. I just want to pick you up on something. You mentioned about the speed of change, and I know a question came in from Laura Robertson. I don't know if Laura's here today. I think Laura couldn't make it, so I'm going to ask this question on her behalf, Senior Client Director at TMP. And her question was really about universities developing their courses in line with the current demands for security professionals. Now, you're saying speed of change, it's changing pretty much week in, week out. Our education establishments, our universities, our colleges just really can't keep up with that speed of change.
I would say that's probably right. I think if I look at, we've got quite an extensive university relations programme, very strong in the States, and I guess that's probably where it's driven from. But the reality is it comes back to that mix again. We're looking for people who've got the aptitude and the capability to adapt to that change rather than the specific skill set. If I think that we're lagging behind the market from a research and development trend, we've got our techies are creating new products, it's new products going to market. It means talent acquisition is normally behind that at some point, so we're lagging already. So by the time we get to graduates, we get to universities, definitely is lagging behind. And if you look at how a syllabus is created within a university, it's sometimes years and years behind. So I think we're changing the way that we recruit and changing the way that we relate with the universities. Certainly in the UK, we're picking on only a handful where we think we're going to get the best relationship developed, and also probably the strongest candidates. But it's a long-term programme. It's not a quick fix, which is another real challenge, I guess, for our point of view.
And it's a big ship to steer as well, isn't it, when you're trying to change curriculum as well, to be flexible. And it leads on to another point that Laura raised as well. Do the students have the right skills to be employable, or does there need to be a change of mindset in both the student and the HR sector? Oh,
God, okay. Not every graduate you meet is employable. I mean, that's the brutal fact. We still that traditional thing in the office of, oh my God, nobody can spell, nobody can do this, nobody can do whatever. I think it's around, again, that attitude and aptitude and whether people can engage. I guess that it also varies, it depends on the role. I mean, we've talked about the true geek sat in a bunker somewhere. His relationship skills with a client might not be the biggest thing we're looking for. But in the main, we're looking for graduates who are engaging and engaged. They need to be social. We profile everybody, we Google them, we see what they're up to, see what they're doing, warts and all. That doesn't put us off, which is also good. But the real thing is around, just about their ability to adapt and learn. I think if you looked at some of the graduates who took on, say, 3 years ago, the skill set they had has incrementally changed, and they've probably already forgotten some stuff that we gave them because they just don't need it anymore. And that's a real difficult thing to do, finding people who can move. I guess the other thing I didn't really cover was around the global scale of what we do. We're a 22,000 people business globally. What we're always looking for is the next best thing. It's either the next cheapest location or the next best source of good resource. Now, traditionally, people have gone to India. We're going to South Africa in a big way. We're going to the Baltics in a big way. We've already gone to South America in a big way. And that changes the engagement that we have on a local basis. It means that we're now managing a global talent organisation, looking for true mobility if we can get it as well, finding people who are, again, graduates particularly, who are willing to live out of a suitcase for the next few years. And that's something that's quite a big ask in many, many cases. And we can do that, that's great. And we do find those people, but finding them is a real challenge.
So what is it about South Africa and the Baltics that is so appealing?
Cheap. South Africa specifically, language, they speak English. It helps us support that. They also speak good Dutch in the main. They also speak some German. We've got that for us works. The time zone also works very well. But yeah, it comes down to cost. It's about looking at your cost base of how you deliver whatever it is you're trying to do. So if it's product development, put it somewhere where you can house it in a purpose-built facility at a fraction of the cost you can do in the UK. For frontline engagement, we'll always have a UK presence. We'll always have people engaging with our customers locally, the same in France, Germany, etc., etc. But the reality is that the behind-the-scenes stuff is starting to look more and more around a global positioning of what can we do. That again, that sort of quality and cost comes in there. That's about the speed. We're quite big in Dublin, along with other people. If you go down to bits of Dublin, you meet Google, you meet Amazon, you meet etc., etc. And we have to look at what our employment market is. Almost a danger that we follow everybody else, or they follow us, depending on which way we're going round. And it creates its own challenges that actually suddenly you're back down to a local market in Dublin where you're recruiting the same people as everywhere else. It means the costs go up. It means it becomes less and less appealing for us to employ people there, even though the quality might be very strong.
Okay. We had a question in from Ruth Harper. Ruth, are you here this morning? Where's Ruth?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi Ruth, would you like me to ask the question on your behalf?
I think my colleague put most of it down.
Okay, That's nice of them, isn't it? I know. Well, Ruth, hopefully this may sort of ring true from Randstad Technologies. I hope we've got the right Ruth Harper. What would you consider to be the key delivery skills or services from a recruitment agency partner?
Ooh, use the word partner. Okay. As a supplier, yeah, we'd want you to. I guess it's around.
I didn't know about what you said earlier.
No,
So
I was thinking there's the difference between a partner and yeah, everybody wants to be a partner. And I think that's the other thing. It's one of those other cliches that does tend to fit in. Of course you want to be a partner, but you can't be a partner from day one. Recruitment's got a really bad reputation for that, hi, I'm your recruitment partner. And that's the first time they've met you. It doesn't mean partnership. I guess it's understanding where we're strongest. I guess from my point of view, I'm always a little bit fed up around we can do this better, faster, quicker than you can. That tends to be an opening gambit with a number of people. And I would challenge that you can. It's looking for our pain points. We're always going to have some pain points. We can't be everything to everybody. I said that inability to say no to roles that come to us means we're always going to say yes. It means they pile on in. If you talk to me today, I've got several hundred roles to fill at any one point, and that's on a rolling week-by-week basis, despite making 30 to 40 offers a week. It's a big challenge. It's a pure numbers game. I was talking to James earlier on about if you're looking for a particular hire, typically a hiring manager wants to see 3 people still. It's quite traditional. To get those 3 people, we're probably seeing 10. Where you can really help is that it's understanding where we're weakest and not being too bullshit about it and just saying, look, we understand, here's the gap. Rather than saying you're a bit crap at it, say, we understand you're weak here. Using anything that brings competitor market information to us is always going to be appealing. It's appealing to us, it's appealing to Microsoft, everybody. We always want to know what everybody else is going on to. And I think it's just that model of engagement. It's about engaging properly with TA as opposed to skirting around the edges, looking at ways into an organisation. Have a grown-up conversation. The answer might be no to begin with, because brutally honest, it might be no elsewhere in the business, but at least try and find that compelling event or compelling proposition that's going to make it easy to say yes. It is not, I can fill your PHP developer roles or whatever the pitch happens to be. It's something a little bit more in-depth than that.
Okay. Any other questions? Got a question? Hello there. We'll get the microphone to you actually. Is it just, you've got it already? You had your own microphone with you.
That's freaky.
Hi Martin, I actually run the sales and the pre-sales desk for recruitment at Barkey Simpson. I've recruited for Semantic before.
Yes.
One of my biggest frustrations with both Semantic and other companies, more and more, is when looking for someone they need a degree. Now I'm pretty much of the standing that if you can sell and you don't necessarily need a degree. Why does someone need a degree when joining your business to sell?
You're going to get me into trouble, aren't you? Okay. I share your frustration some of the time. I think there's a view that says that we'll always recruit graduates to get the best people. If we're talking specifically about sales roles, I would argue that a good attitude, some good competent sales experiences will win the day. I do think that depends on where in the Semantic business that also sits. Some of our propositions are easier to sell than others. Some are less technically in depth. And I think there's certainly a view, though, amongst certainly the management team that we should be recruiting the best that we can get. By default, they also associate that as the best we can get is somebody with a degree from wherever. My personal view, I don't think I've ever looked at somebody's CV and thought, oh, well, they haven't got a degree, let's not take them. I've certainly had that conversation with hiring managers where we've challenged people to say, forget the degree, look at what they can do. I think in the IT industry in general, it's moving that way. If you look at a frontline call centre, not for us, particularly for somebody else, everybody's a graduate. That's what they want. They want everybody to be a graduate and everybody to be great salespeople. The two things don't necessarily mix. And if I look at some of the life skills that some of our salespeople have got instead of pure academic, they've done very, very well. Some of our best salespeople are good commercial salespeople, not armed with a degree.
That's a very interesting question, actually, because particularly as a lot of people have gone to university over the last 3 or 5 years, we've got double the amount of graduates coming out. Doesn't mean we've got double the amount of quality.
No, and I think from us, again, it really is specific. If it's a technical role, then yeah, a technical degree of some sort makes perfect sense. If it's a sales role, in an ideal world, we'd have some sort of business or marketing degree to back that up because of that lack of experience. But yeah, we would always look at people for appropriate roles in appropriate places. I think that's the way I can euphemistically say that.
Has that eliminated some of your frustration or
No.
not?
Because at some point we'll still say, no, he's not got a degree, don't want him.
Yeah.
You know, it does.
Take your microphone.
It does, obviously, to a degree, but at the end of the day,
I think we can hang out for the best.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
the thing. We're a big brand. We can hang out for the best. As I said, particularly if we're paying top salaries as well. I think that's the other challenge. I said we typically are not market leaders in salary, but we're certainly above average. So I think we're expecting above average candidates, and that may be where that frustration comes through. Some of it's timing as well, to be brutally frank. If we've got 400 sales vacancies, then we'll look at a much broader range of skills, particularly if they're more commodity-based sales activities, where it's very, very specialist. We'll hang on out for the best people.
sure,
So.
sure.
Thanks,
Do you mind if I ask something else? Sorry.
Yes, please do.
Just coming obviously on your point that our days are numbered, I kind of do agree with you. But also at the same time, my thoughts are obviously you guys are going to enlarge your internal recruitment.
Yeah.
Do you not think you're going to need us for basically a wider knowledge of what's going on in the market? Let's be fair, obviously you guys can find out a lot, but we're probably going to be able to find out a little bit more of what's going on with your competitors and that type of thing.
I sort of agree, sort of disagree. There's no surprise there. If we're interviewing enough candidates, then we find out enough about our competitors. We target our competitors to talk to them. There are some organisations that have been targeting our people deliberately just to get some information, to have a chat. There is probably a job somewhere at the back of it, but that's probably not the main event. That's probably not the real reason they're doing it. Do we need you to do that? Possibly, possibly not. As I said, there's a scale thing that kicks in at some point. If we're meeting hundreds of candidates every week, day in, day out, yeah, we're going to have to grow the team. But we get that direct contact. We're also attracting people who are interested in us and us alone, rather than coming to you and saying, I want a job. They're coming, I want a job with Symantec, and that's quite a compelling thing for us as well. It means we can manage the relationship going forward. The real driver is that sort of future talent pooling or pipelining, where we'll meet somebody that we really like, we just haven't got a job from today. We feel so much more comfortable keeping in touch and having that regular update than it coming from an agency and having perhaps that same conversation. If we come from an agency, the job isn't there, your job is then to find them a job somewhere else, particularly if they've interviewed well, particularly if we've said, yeah, they're great, they're just not right for this particular role, whereas we can hang on to them and do something with them later on. Your days are numbered. There you go. Our days are numbered.
Hi.
A couple of questions there, and where's the question? Just there. Hello there.
Hi, Jean-Paul from Vonk UK. You mentioned your talent acquisition starts at the university graduate level.
Yep.
Do you think going forward you're going to, I suppose in a competitive market, need to start engaging with people at a younger age?
Oh,
I suppose
yeah, it's funny. It's a good question. Came up the other day actually.
I was going to say, as James mentioned, there's probably a lot of people that don't realise there's necessarily a career in your industry. You may end up on the wrong side of the fence, so to speak.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the ability to go down and further makes perfect sense. I don't think we're arrogant enough to think we can influence that particularly. And I said, it's down to Google. Everybody wants to work for Google. Every single university person I meet wants to work for Google. So undoubtedly they can do something about that. But if you look at A level and look earlier on, it says, what are we doing? So again, globally, if you look at what we're doing in the US, it has always traditionally been about universities. They're definitely taking it down a level. They're looking at what can we influence now, getting involved with people. So there's the two sides of it really. It says, we're not going to necessarily influence the syllabus. If I looked at the UK, we're probably not going to influence A levels, but our mere presence and understanding what's coming down the track, spreading the word, all that sort of evangelical stuff, it makes perfect sense. The challenge as ever is time, resource, people. We're committed to doing it. We're not committing lots of people to do it right now. And that's probably the reality. That in the main if you look at the number of graduates compared with experienced professionals, we're much, much heavier on the experienced professionals. We're chasing people who've got the skills already rather than developing them in-house. We do try and mix and match. In the UK, that's probably not quite where it is. The US certainly is. So the UR program is huge. So.
And talking about that awareness campaign, James, would you like to get a mic? You got your mic on, have you?
Or I could just be really loud.
No, we'd like you to have a mic so we can pick it up. Be both.
It's one of my CV skills, being loud, actually. Building on what Martin said, I think, very apt. But equally, I think more and more businesses are prepared to accept younger candidates, perhaps with less than ideal academic background based on capability. The winner of the UK Cybersecurity Challenge last year, Dan Summers, a guy who is a postman actually, is now one of the key members of the information security team at the post office. So he's been taken from being a postman. He's a young guy with very little background in this area and is now a key member of the information security team. And he had lots of offers actually from other large businesses who were prepared to concede that background because he demonstrated capability and aptitude, but decided to stick due to loyalty, which I think is fantastic. So there are more cases of people doing that because they need the right technical skills. I think Martin has astutely said in his previous question, capability is king, but of course, naturally, the qualifiers like a degree and experience are always going to push candidates to the top. As an industry, we have to be balanced. In Sophos Labs, most people that come into our labs function need a 12-month training course to learn how to do their job. And we do that to build the talent pool, to avoid it getting stale, and because ultimately we need the talent. So don't be scared if you've got a candidate with capability and a more creative way of demonstrating that capability to put them forward. Don't fear it. Attitudes are changing. But of course, proven track record is always going to be a quick win, isn't it? So hope that helps.
Thank you very much. Had a question here. Hi there.
Hi Martin.
Hello.
My name's Chrissy. I work for Digital, so I'm coming from your side of the fence really. Your core team's 18.
Currently,
and I just wondered, you gave Oracle as an example at 95%, and how are you doing? Filling roles, sorry guys, without the help
without
of
these guys here?
Yeah.
33% come from internal mobility. If we look at the first line, there's a vacancy. Where are we going to get the candidate from? It's internal mobility. Sometimes that creates a knock-on role and somewhere else. We currently fill 20, if I add all the numbers up, we're probably at 74% in-house. So that includes internal referrals, really, really strong for us, particularly around the technical people. We pay a lot of money for an internal referral. We pay lots.
Okay.
Because it's still cheaper than using these guys. If I just look at you now, they'll go away. But that also works. We use, for the senior roles, we get executive referrals. We don't pay anything for that. It's just part of their business.
Yes.
But then you said that mobility piece really kicks in as well. And then direct sourcing. We are desperately trying to up that number. I said every single time it goes outside, it costs us money. We lose some control. And we lose it's not even that we lose that candidate. It's not even about that candidate that we employ. It's about the periphery. If we're searching for a mid-level something, we also find junior somethings and more senior somethings at the same time, and we can hang on to those for the next time round, because the good thing we know what's coming down the track. We know what the next thing's going to be. And sometimes it's just a scale. Talked about being big in the Baltics. We're currently looking for about 100 people in Estonia. It's a scale thing. It says that we think we can do that ourselves better. If you use too many agencies, you start to lose control of the process. We get into bidding wars. We'd much rather just have that direct conversation. And candidates, in the main, say they have a better experience going direct than they do externally. And that's something we have to listen to as well. I think certainly over the next 12 months, we'll be building candidate experience. Maybe it's my personal view. Yeah, I've had a little dissent there. It's personal view. If we get it right, then I think the candidate experience is second to none. If we get it right. If we get it wrong, then we've lost them to Symantec or whoever forever, and that's a real pain. It is horses for courses. It depends on the level. It depends on the type of candidate we're talking to.
I do have another question.
Yeah.
Microphone, please. Thank you.
I'm trying to think of proactive ways, like we all are, at trying to attract people, but also for yourself and for James. I wanted to know whether you're actually actively training and skilling up people who aren't actually fitting a job, position directly. Something that I'm thinking about, because I'm talking to so many good developers who come from the right background, who can program, who, for us, we're application security. That's our business. Who haven't been exposed to that yet, but are interested, and perhaps they haven't done their 2-year masters, which would enable them to, qualify. And I think there are ways to get them skilled up faster.
I guess we're lucky. We've got scale. It means that all our teams are relatively big. There tends to be not sort of 1s and 2s of doing anything. It can be 50s and 60s and 100s. So first point of call would be some form of secondment. identify. I guess there's two reasons for doing it. From our point of view, we'll look at are we no longer supporting this bit of the business or no longer doing that. So we've got a choice of redundancy, never popular, very costly, don't want to do that, or should we reskill those people? So that's tends to be the one end of reskilling in some respects. If an individual comes along and says, I want to do something, then I think we've just got that flexibility and scale, and we would, facilitate some sorts of comment, some sort of project, or what skills you're trying to do. Is there something you can actually do almost on the side? It says, well, you do 3 days a week for us doing this like you do now, but 2 days a week of this. Or a complete immersion, go off and get some training.
And it works. It works.
It does work, yeah. From our point of view, again, it's retention's really important for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
That we get people in and we keep them for a period of time. Again, because talent acquisition is a horribly expensive thing. We want people to come in, develop, work for Symantec, work forever. Obviously work for other places as well.
Was your point as well around external candidates coming in and having a training programme that they've
External,
got the necessary skills
they've
as
got
well?
Scale and they've
Yeah.
got the luxury of being able to use who they have already.
Yeah.
We are a growing consultancy with fantastic, talented people, but we are exceptionally small. We're 17 now. We need to be 30 by the end of the year. We've got so much work, really good reputation. We've just got to think of alternative ways.
Find it. We're getting back to that capability thing where it says that you'll find people who've got a natural aptitude to learn the next thing along, the adjacent technology or the adjacent whatever, and you find people that can just absorb stuff versus people that just go, this is what I am.
And those numbers were for Europe. We are over 150 in the US. I don't know. Some people here know digital. I would expect some maybe don't.
Okay, interesting question. And you talk obviously Oracle 95%. You're roughly around 33%.
Can hate me for saying this. Kevin Blair, he'll hate me for saying
what is roughly the industry standard? Would you say you are roughly around that 33% at the moment?
Yeah, we're probably average. It's 70 something. Well, in an ideal world, it's probably 70 something. I think we're all comfortable with saying 70 something. I would suggest that some organisations are less than that. Okay. They're heavily using agencies. Sometimes it's a project by project piece of work. It depends what you're trying to do. And then it's getting back to that speed, quality, cost thing. If we want something really quickly, chances are we use an agency to do it. What we're finding though is more and more of our roles are true pan-European. It says we want whatever, we don't care where they sit, and that makes it quite complex. That's another reason why we find it easier to do it ourselves. If we had we could have the role in the UK, so we might engage with a UK agency. Might have the same role could be based in France. Well, that means we could potentially engage with a French agency, and we might want the same role in Germany or Italy or etc. 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 So that's another thing to that combined. We've got the language skills and language capability in our team. We can do it in-house, and we would normally do those sort of Pan-EMEA type roles in-house. Of course. But I think certainly if I look at other competitors, they always say they're doing better than we are, but they're probably much of a muchness. The industry norm's probably around 70 something, I would have thought.
Thank you. Richard, I think you wanted to have a question, didn't you?
Well, it isn't actually a question. It's more
an observation.
Well, it's more of a supplementary answer, really.
Yeah.
And Martin was talking about recruitment consultancies and the future for them. And I think the future for recruitment consultancies, I don't think it's bleak. I think they need to change their viewpoint perhaps and target the right sort of clients for their businesses. And it sounds like Symantec are really buttoned up, Sophos, I'm sure they are as well. So why go for them? I mean, there's lots of in my role in our organisation, we have an eagle's eye view of the market, the UK IT recruitment market, and we have hundreds and hundreds of IT recruitment consultancies who use our service every month. Now, one thing I've noticed and observed is the ones that seem to be doing the best are the ones either who have a very niche strategy, so there's one area they go for, and then they do have an opportunity to partner particular clients because they only deal with one area within IT or desks within IT. And the other thing is to go for sort of small and medium-sized enterprises. Everyone wants to get Google on board. Everyone wants to work for Google. Everyone wants Google as a client. Why? It's just one company at the end of the day. There's hundreds and thousands of SMEs in the UK. Chrissy spoke about her organisation that's small at the moment in the UK. Do the math. I know where I'd be ringing up. So consultants need to, I think, just focus their minds on the type of clients they go for. There's no point.
I'd support that. Joe said that some of those organisations are quite large as well. To be honest, they're not the one-man bands or the SME end of it. They're proper mid-end.
Absolutely,
a thousand people organisation, for example, you won't have in-house recruitment.
Absolutely not, and they're not. And I think Symantec and Martin are the exception rather than the rule. I think you've got. It sounds like you've got it now. I think there's other organisations. Oracle, you mentioned, they're very good at it, but most organisations aren't, and they still aren't, and there's still a you know, it reminds me of the old thing, you know, when television was invented, no one would ever listen to the radio again. And they still do. But radio has become more specialised, and there's lots more niche programmes on radio.
And James also mentioned about the scale of requirement as well, 10 times going forward.
Absolutely.
So, you know, obviously there is a need then to service that amount of staff required.
Yeah, I mean, I think the role of the, you know, in a previous life, I worked in the city, IT contracts, placing into financials, and then this in the 90s, and yeah, it was like the Wild West in those days. It was great. We used to ring up the line managers. Seriously, we used to ring up the line managers.
Good old days.
Yeah, we used to, you know, whack the guys in there, start the next morning. And those days are gone.
Yeah.
And people, I think most people do realise it, but they need to realign their businesses to appreciate that and to try and partner with the companies that actually need them, not the ones perhaps that don't need them.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good point. Got a final question here.
Yeah, just speaking from the agency side again. I spoke very recently with the head of a highly successful, growing IT recruitment agency who spoke to me a little bit about salaries. His argument was, good people go to agencies, less good stay in-house because of the earning differential. Could you give us some insight into
How much
your
do
view
I
on
earn?
just your view on that generally? Because obviously, if there is a situation where a person at an agency who's good can earn X, and he could earn less than that at in-house, there's always going to be the problem that you might have in the future that they might think, well, thank you very much, but I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah, there's always that danger. As you say, good people do different things. What I think we're finding more and more is the people, good deliverers, are what we're really chasing. The people that get paid the most in an agency tend to be very good at business development as well. So yeah, naturally I think we're finding people who don't particularly like the business development aspect of it. They don't like picking up the phone and talking to a customer. Yet they're more than capable of picking up the phone, talking to a candidate, talking to a hiring manager. It's also about career. It sounds a bit daft. Who's got the biggest agency here, for example? How many people are in a typical agency? I don't know these days. Probably, was it 10, 15, 20 top? Yeah. Right, so you got 50. Okay. You got 350. In which case you're bigger than considerably bigger than the norm. Then,
Higher than
probably.
350.
We got 600.
Oh,
Yeah.
very
Okay.
good.
So considerably bigger than the norm.
I wish I had a prize to give you. Sorry.
Average agencies are significantly smaller. So another reason for joining a corporate and doing corporate recruitment is you get involved in so much more than just fill the job. The agency piece is focused around sourcing and the fee. In-house is focused around there's a relationship I've got with the hiring manager. There's a program of work. I get to see the candidate from day one. I also get to see them in the canteen 2 years later. I get the pat on the back because they've sold lots or they've developed this or done whatever. So people come to us for career as well. So yeah, they won't earn as much because there isn't the same fee structure, there isn't the same structure. But they come for career. They come for I'm joining a large corporate and all that comes with that. So it's not for everybody. I have this contention. There's a friend of mine called Chris, who will thank me for mentioning him if nothing else. He's absolutely held that belief that rubbish recruiters go in-house. But times are changing. We are able to pay for more. We're able to pay not the same, but we're catching up slowly. And that's partly because of the acknowledgement that talent acquisition is a tricky old thing. And if we get it right, then we get better candidates, there's a higher quality, it's lower cost, etc., all those good things. So we are changing the way that we engage with people. I think it's always a risk.
But I take it one size doesn't fit all. It
exactly,
varies from company to company.
But I think slowly, certainly for corporate, I think it's being squeezed. It says we should be really good at the majority of the stuff that we do because we've got brand and access to things that you just don't have. And that's the blunt end of it. So.
Okay.
I have to just add something there,
Yep.
just as a bit of a cheeky comment.
Go
Do
on.
check CWJobs because I'm going to be posting for an internal recruiter, and I think you'd be pleasantly surprised at the salary range. So I don't think I was thinking you're not paid very well in-house because you would be with
Yeah.
Source.
Nice plug, I like that.
I like you, very good. I'm going to give you a job myself. So. Richard, any final observations or thoughts that you'd like to deliver?
Well, I think it's been wonderful. I think I've certainly learnt a lot today around the whole subject of infosec, and both presentations were very insightful, I thought, and the questions were very intelligent, and the content was very thought provoking. Really, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming along and spending the time to come here and listen today. There will be an opportunity for networking afterwards. I realise we'll probably run a little bit over time. But I hope everybody has got as much out of it as I have, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I hope we see everyone again next year.
Yeah, and before you all move, actually, because I've got some information about what's going to happen next. Thank you, Richard, for that. And thank you also to Martin Dangerfield, everybody. Thank you, Martin.